In case you didn't know, you have access to one of the most powerful Pokemon for the Great League right now. You just have to buy a GoFest ticket before July 5th. I'm going to be explaining all of this in today's video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Okay, so Carbink, that is a Pokemon that is going to be introduced during Pokemon Go Fest, but you can actually get this Pokemon right now if you pre-order the Global Go Fest ticket. The reason for that is because for people who buy this ticket, they have access to a special research that will award you with a Carbink. This is of course if you buy the ticket before July 5th, and that is because it is kind of like a pre-order bonus. And Carbink is actually one of the most powerful Pokemon for the Great League in the Go Battle League. As a matter of fact, right now, it is currently ranked #1 overall in the Open Great League. It is even ahead of Registeel. That is something that is mind-blowing, considering that this Pokemon is really easy to get, and it's not necessarily something you have to worry about in terms of IVs. Now there is one caveat that you need to consider when using Carbink for the Go Battle League. It is not going to be viable for the Ultra League or Master League, and that is because the max combat points is not going to be anywhere near 2,500, but it is low enough where it is going to be extremely powerful for the Great League. Another thing you need to keep in mind when it comes to Carbink is that it is going to require a lot of candy and a lot of XL candy in order to make it viable. And again, the reason for that is because the max level for this Pokemon is going to get you really close to that 1,500 limit. Much like with Pokemon like Medicham, it is going to require you to max it out beyond level 40. But yeah, I do think it is incredibly worth it because this Pokemon is going to be really strong, and it's mainly because of its base stats as well as the move pool that it can come with. It also has a plethora of really good resistances and not a lot of weaknesses that you have to worry about. There are going to be a couple of Pokemon that are going to be really strong against Carbink, but in general, this Pokemon is going to be extremely effective against the current Great League meta. So real quick, let's go over the details for this Pokemon. Carbink has the unique type combination of Rock and Fairy. This means it's going to have weaknesses to Grass, Ground, Steel, and Water. The one thing to keep in mind is that it has a double weakness to Steel types, so that means it's going to be extremely vulnerable to Pokemon like Registeel. But in terms of resistances, it actually has quite a lot. It is going to be double resistant to Dragon type attacks, and it's going to have a regular resistance to Bug, Dark, Fire, Flying, and Normal. Now in terms of weather boosts, it's going to be weather boosted by partly cloudy or cloudy weather. Next, let's talk about its base stats, because this is one of the reasons why this Pokemon is just so good for the Great League. It has an extremely low base attack stat, but its defense stat and stamina stat are extremely high. In terms of its attack stat, it has a 95 base stat. In terms of defense, it has 285. And in terms of stamina, it has 137. That is pretty insane, considering that it has near 300 defense and also a really high amount of stamina. This Pokemon is going to survive a plethora of different onslaughts. Considering that it is so tanky, you might even be okay going up against hard counters. Now if you want to talk about rank 1 IVs for Carbink, it's going to be 5 attack, 15 defense, and 15 stamina. But something to keep in mind is that currently, you can only get a Carbink through a special research, which means it's going to have an IV floor of 10, 10, and 10. It doesn't really matter what IVs you get, but you will want some pretty high defense and stamina. But in general, it really won't matter because the stats alone are going to be just extremely high on the defensive end and pretty low on the attack end. So even if you get a little bit extra attack, it's only going to make a minimal difference. Now, as I mentioned before, Carbink is going to require a lot of rare candies and even rare candy XL. That is of course because even with a 100% IV, it's still going to require you to level it up past level 40. But if you have a perfect IV, it might actually benefit you because you won't necessarily have to level it a lot in order to get it close to that 1500. Now, aside from the base stats, another reason why Carbink is so good for the Great League is of course its move pool. It can come with the fast attacks Rock Throw and Tackle, and the obvious choice is going to be Rock Throw. This fast attack deals a lot of chip damage, and it also benefits from a same type attack bonus. On top of that, it does generate a hefty amount of energy as well. Now in terms of its charge attacks, it only comes with 3 different ones: Rock Slide, Power Gem, and Moonblast. The obvious choice is going to be Rock Slide and Moonblast, considering the amount of damage they can deal for the amount of energy that you will be spending. Power Gem is also a pretty decent move, but honestly, Rock Slide is going to be the clear favorite. So yeah, in terms of base stats, moves, and type advantages, it's pretty straightforward with Carbink. It is a Fairy and Rock type, which means it's going to be really strong against the current meta. You're also going to throw off opponents because both Rock and Fairy actually synergize really well with each other. There are certain types that are going to be really strong against Fairy types, but the Rock typing actually nullifies a lot of them. I'm specifically referring to poison types. Since there's a lot of poison types that are currently being used, you could use the Rock type to kind of counteract a lot of that. And the same goes for Rock type weaknesses as well. One of the most common things to use against Rock types is of course fighting types. And because Carbink has that Fairy type, it nullifies a lot of fighting type attacks. So yeah, overall, this Pokemon is just straight up going to be built for the Go Battle League, specifically for the Great League. If you still do not have this Pokemon, I highly suggest you try to get one as soon as possible. If you're not willing to spend the money on the Go Fest ticket, then you will definitely want to get this Pokemon later on when it becomes more widely available. Now, in terms of what kind of team this Pokemon could slot in with, I honestly think it would be really good with Medicham and Altaria. If you look at the overall scorecard for this particular team, you could see that it is extremely effective. I really do think that this team has a lot of well-roundedness, and it's definitely going to be strong against the current meta. Considering that there's a lot of ice types and ground types that you have to worry about, I do think this team is going to be able to handle that sort of meta really well. So yeah, overall, Great League has a very powerful option that is now available to you. Again, in order to get this Pokemon, you need to purchase the Global Go Fest ticket before July 5th, and you will have access to a special research that will award you a Carbink. I do think this is a little bit pay to win if you think about it, because this is an extremely powerful Go Battle League Pokemon that you will have access to if you make a real money purchase. But yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding Carbink down below. Are you planning to use this Pokemon in the Go Battle League? If you do, definitely share that down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.